Good evening, members of the Cabinet, officers. Welcome to this meeting of the Stronger Council Select Committee. It's Tuesday the 18th of April. I'll start with the webcasting introduction. I'd like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing or another use by such third parties. And if you are seated in the lower public seating area, it is likely that the recording cameras will capture your image, and this will result in the possibility that your image will become part of the broadcast. This may infringe your human and data protection rights, and if you wish to avoid this, you should move to the upper public gallery. Okay, item 2, apologies for absence, please.
Yes, Chairman, we have apologies from Councillors Patel, Hadley and Jogger.
Members, with the absence of the Vice Chairman, I don't see it necessary with the agenda we've got to have a Vice Chairman. But if I do need help, I will shout and ask, because I know there's some very experienced councillors in the chamber today. And any substitute members, please?
Yes, Chairman, we have Councillor Helen Kane for Councillor Hadley.
Lovely, thank you, Councillor Kane. Item 4, declarations of interest. Do any members have any interest to declare? No? None? Okay, so then item 5, this is the notes of the previous meeting. It's pages 3 to 8 on your agenda report pack. Are we happy to agree the minutes as a true and accurate record of the meeting? Agreed? Thank you. Item 6 is terms of reference and our work programme, which is pages 9 to 12 on your agenda report pack. Members, this will be the last meeting of the Stronger Council Select Committee, so if anybody has any matters they want to add to the work programme, it would be under the new committee structure, which will be soon to present itself. So I'll politely request, if there are any matters, you're all more than welcome to raise them this evening, but they cannot be formally put onto the work programme for this committee. Which gives me the opportunity also to praise all members that have taken part in this committee for the excellent scrutiny that has been done. Particularly, I think it's worth noting the financial scrutiny in what has been some very challenging periods for this council. And I think I'd just like to put on record the committee's thanks to all of the officers, members of the Cabinet and members of the committee who have been very, very thorough with their support to this committee in giving us, detail and in-person responses to many of our queries. Just to also praise members of the committee for doing so very sensitively as well when some of the matters have been quite serious to discuss. So is everyone happy to move on to the next item? Oh, Councillor Morgan? Are you still on the work programme? We are, yes. Yeah.
I was going to ask about item 10. Item 10, review of officers appearing via Zoom on various meetings. Is that going to be decided next year then, or next?
Well, I would certainly like to see it discussed, so I think that will be something that we can bring to a future scrutiny, but I don't know if Democratic Services want to comment on that.
Just to say, we don't do Zoom anymore. Everything's on Teams now. But I appreciate what you're trying to say is the principle behind it and how they should behave and work. Yeah, but that could be discussed in another committee. Yeah.
So perhaps it's worth noting that when we bring that up in future, we just mention the word virtual attendance. That covers all apps, so that we don't ban one and then see a new one being brought in. Are you happy with that, Councillor Morgan?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. So then we'll move on, members, to item 7, which is the launch of the new People Strategy for 2023 to 27. This is on pages 13 to 24. We will receive a presentation from officers. I think it's just worth noting that it will be very useful for this committee to comment and have a sort of formal comment on this strategy so that it makes its journey into Cabinet with a comment and just sort of an opinion from this committee. So I'll hand over to the officers for the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Evening, everybody. So there are three elements to this evening. There is a report that you've already got sight of. There's also the strategy document in a PDF format that's already been sent. And we'd like to showcase to you our intro and engagement video that we've created to actually launch the people strategy out to the organisation as it's gone through its cycle. So just to start, the people strategy has been updated to reflect the revised corporate plan, and it aligns to the corporate objectives which took effect in April this year. Our 2023-27 people strategy focus on three main pillars and three main work streams: maximising organisational capacity and capability, effective and inspirational leadership values and culture, and enhancing employee experience and engagement. So I'm just going to really quickly summarise what those mean. So maximising organisational capacity and capability, that's around attracting and retaining our best talent. So to attract diverse and top-tier talent, and leveraging our digital recruitment methods. So we are working towards the employer of choice. It's also around retaining our exceptional workforce, so succession planning, offering competitive employee benefits that people want to join us, and also evolving our flexible and hybrid working arrangements, and giving people that actually do join us and work for us really clear development and career progression with Epping Forest District Council. Supporting our employees through comprehensive workforce plans, so really supporting what those workforce plans look like. So looking at our pinch points, looking at succession planning, and really starting to motivate our workforce. We're under that theme as well, it would be looking at internships, apprenticeships, graduate schemes, and mentorship programs that would include member mentorship as well. And fostering a culture of continuous learning and development, so really having a learning culture at EFDC. So moving on to the next theme, effective and inspirational leadership values and culture. So really looking at developing our skills internally and adopting and embracing our values and behaviours at EFDC. So looking at skills development, encouraging managers and leaders to provide consistent feedback to employees to help them grow, nurture talent, and really be visionary around our leadership so that we really do inspire employees to stay with us and they can really see career progression with Epping Forest District Council. Creating sustainable and an innovation future. Again, that's about visionary leadership and culture. We actively seek input from employees, so we really give our employees a voice to be heard. Open communication channels, but just not one way, two-way communication. So we really ask our employees what they love about working here, and ensuring that everyone's voice is heard so that every employee has a voice. Moving on to the next theme around enhancing employee experience and engagement. So this is about really building an inclusive environment. So looking at diversity and inclusion initiatives to promote awareness and understanding and acceptance of diverse cultures, backgrounds and experiences. And cultivating a people-centric culture. So really putting people first, an emphasis on their well-being, not only their mental well-being and their physical well-being, but looking at things like financial well-being incentives as well. Employee wellness programs, access to employee assistant programs so people can really get the help when they need it, as and when they need it. And giving people really healthy work-life balances. So how can you help as modern day counsellors and leaders? So we're asking you to really embrace and promote the strategy, be a real advocate for the people strategy and the people that work at EFDC. Actively encourage your peers to support and participate and really promote cross-functional collaboration. We ask that you celebrate success, so when things have gone really well, and we ask that you foster a culture of accountability and ownership. And in conclusion to the New People strategy, together and by working together, we can achieve our strategic priorities and create an environment where everyone thrives and contributes to our collective success, and make EFDC a real employer of choice going forward. So that's the report. I'm happy to walk through the PDF format of the strategy if you want me to. But if we play the video, I think that actually showcases this in a different way. So I've asked Sarah to come tonight. So Sarah, can you play the video for me?
The landscape of local government is rapidly changing and evolving, with new challenges and opportunities arising every day. To effectively navigate this environment, forward-thinking authorities must develop a fresh and modern people strategy that aligns with the corporate objective to become an employer of choice. Our updated people strategy focuses on 3 main pillars. The first is to maximize organizational capacity and capability. To do this, we will attract and retain talent using innovative recruitment methods and establishing a strong employer brand by providing competitive employee benefits, flexible working, and clear career progression pathways. We will support employees through comprehensive work plans that offer internships, apprenticeships, and mentorship, training and workshops to facilitate ongoing skill development. Our second objective is to nurture effective and inspirational leadership, values and culture. To achieve this, we will prioritize skill development and nurture visionary leadership, investing in leadership development programs, creating opportunities for cross-collaboration, and celebrating success stories that exemplify our core values. To create a sustainable and innovative future. The third objective is to enhance employee experience and engagement. To achieve this objective, we will cultivate a people-centric culture that is diverse and inclusive, embraces a sense of well-being, encourages a healthy work-life balance to boost employee morale, increase productivity, and reduce absenteeism. As councillors, leaders, and employees, we ask that you support and promote the New People strategy. Become an advocate for skill development, well-being, inclusion, and lead by example. Actively encourage your peers to support and participate in initiatives that nurture a stronger council and participate in workshops, seminars, and team-building events. Promote and support collaboration. Celebrate success and recognize employee contribution. And finally, help us foster a culture of accountability and ownership among employees. By integrating these themes and actions, you will contribute to a stronger, more innovative and sustainable local authority for all. Together we can achieve our strategic priorities and create an environment where everyone thrives and contributes to our collective success. This strategy will lay the foundation for a progressive local government model that empowers people, embraces change and delivers exceptional service. Thank you for listening.
I open the floor to any questions or feedback.
Thank you very much for your report and your video. I think Councillor Kane wants to just say something first.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I just want to add a couple of words. I think this people strategy is probably one of the most important pieces of work my portfolio has produced. The officers that we rely on to get the work done are the lifeblood of this council, and this strategy is about attracting the right people to want to come and work here, making sure those people get to achieve the most that they can achieve and become the best version of themselves, and to ensure that once they're here and they're moving up the ladder, that they stay here and want to stay here. So this is a really important piece of work, and it's down to all of us to make sure that the ambitions in this document are realised. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Kane and Councillor Bassett, so I'll take Councillor Kane first.
Yeah, Thank you, Chairman. I do agree that this is an exceptional strategy. The only thing I would like to ask is actually how we evaluate that and how we scrutinise that, if you like. How do you manage this so it actually, it's the performance and everything?
So the strategy is very top level, underpinned by a very progressive and aspirational service plan with objectives and projects. So we've got a list of projects that sit under the people strategy. It's important to understand that the people strategy is very agile, so it will bend and flex and move as the organisation changes. And we review that probably every quarter to just make sure that we're on track.
Councillor Bassett.
Thank you. Everything you said, absolutely fine, no problem. But I think you've really missed the trick here. One of the areas that is not really discussed is about members. Members have all the same problems. Those that come and work here as members, we are under a hell of a lot of stress. We get calls all the time, things we don't know how to do. How do we relate? How do we engage with officers? And one of the things I find the most ever annoying is where you try to contact an officer or a group and get told, we'll get back to you in 10 days. And then where's the escalation? How do I get things solved? And, you know, it's very much a case of we need to attract better members, which also therefore will help with the staff. And get that cross. We used to have engagement, more direct engagement with members, so you knew who to talk to. Now, all that happens is we don't get a response in 10 days, we go speak to the portfolio holder, because we do not know who to escalate it to apart from the chief exec, which is obviously not very sensible thing to do. And I think we really do need to expand this to include members and the relationship between members and staff, and how we get members trained and understanding and better links between officers and members. I've been around a long time and I know most of the people here, and I've known them for many years, so I know who to speak to. But someone perhaps coming in these May elections would not have a clue. And there's nothing more frustrating than when you've got a resident bending your ear to be told you might get a response in 10 days, and that might just say we're looking into it, because you cannot get, you get an area that is responsible, but you don't get someone who is authorised to do something with it, and that's what I think we do need added to this.
Thank you, Councillor Bassett. I think Paul would like to say something, or I can...
This is, the people team are purely responsible for our people, but there's nothing to say that we can't work with our member services in terms of developing something similar for members, and picking up your points around officer-member interaction, protocol document that we've had that probably hasn't been looked at in a while, so we can certainly pick up that piece of work. And work with member services to bring that to the fore. And also what I'll do is I'll take back your comments regarding the customer element into the customer services as well, around where do you go, where do you escalate, etc.
Yeah, Councillor Bassett.
One of the things, therefore, I think you should be looking at is officers, when they need to speak to a member or want to engage with members, how do they do it? Who do they speak to? Because you might want to speak to an experienced counsellor as a sounding board. And, you know, Richard and myself, between us, we've probably got about 40 years between us.
I've got 40 years on my own.
Yeah.
Could I come in on that? So part of this is to set up a mentorship programme with members and employees. So it is actually included in the people strategy, and there is a member focus in the people strategy, although Paul has answered that your queries around opportunities to better that for you. But the mentorship actually does include you because it is recognised you have got a lot of experience to offer employees, new employees and existing employees as well. So it will be coming.
I think it's worth noting at this point that one of the things that works very well with the youth council who come in, you know, a newly elected youth councillor and a newly elected councillor frankly have the same knowledge almost of the council as each other, and the speed dating that the youth council do with the adult council is a very effective mechanism. So perhaps initiatives like that would just help to build those relationships that we do so desperately need, because COVID is, you know, an excuse for lots of things, but I think we can categorically say that prior to the pandemic those relationships were a lot stronger, and it's natural of any organisation, but hopefully that is behind us now, and this strategy is the skeleton of the future and we can add the meat to it. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you very much for that. I'd just like to add really that, I mean, it's lovely and it's a very nice presentation and we're looking at something very ideal. I think what concerns me slightly is our staff, those of us who've been around a few years, the last 5 particularly. I mean, they've gone through restructure after restructure. Several staff have been made redundant, not all compulsory redundancies. If anything, I hear in the hairdressers in Loughton, and these are anonymised because I've no idea who the other customers are, but working for the council, a lot of the staffs are disenchanted. And they've had 2 years of a pandemic, which our chairman has which hasn't always helped relations. I just feel, I've asked this question before, but about exit interviews, because I think these can be very helpful, because I've seen some really talented staff leave in the last 2 or 3 years who were doing a lot for the organisation, and sometimes they strongly implied to me that it wasn't particularly they wanted to go, but felt that they weren't made very welcome here anymore, and they were really hard-working people with a very good knowledge. That's just one of my concerns, really.
Do you want to take that, Paula, or after? I'd say, yeah.
So we do exit interviews, so everyone is offered an exit interview when they leave, and all management exits are offered an exit interview face-to-face. So it is something that we do offer, just to alleviate any concerns that we might not offer that, we do.
Councillor Brooks?
Yeah, and how many people avail themselves of the offer then? Half? A quarter? 3/4? How many people do actually take advantage of the exit interview or feedback to the organisation?
It does vary. So there are plans in place to improve that, but it does vary in numbers.
I mean, I really would love to see EFDC nominated, because I do see other councils nominate as employee, their employees are giving them the vote as a good place to work, etc. But I still feel we've got quite a long way to go. And if what Councillor Phillip tells us at the budget meetings is next year's going to be even harder, because my experience on the ground as a councillor, particularly in problems with housing, is that they're really short of people actually doing jobs on the ground, sorting out those anti-behaviour, social behaviour and other things. And it's all very well when you talk about work-life balance, but I know for some people that they haven't had much of a work-life balance because they have so much to do and there are not enough people to do it.
Did you have anything you wanted to add? I know Councillor Kane wants to say something, but no? Councillor Kane?
Just a brief comment to acknowledge what Councillor Brooks is saying there. And to a certain extent, the reason this strategy has been drawn up is a recognition of some of those problems that you've just been highlighting. We have been through a very difficult couple of years with COVID. Our method of operation, our method of working has changed dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years. This building we're in has changed dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years. So there has been a great deal of upheaval. And what we're hoping to do with the strategies, as I say, it's a recognition of some of those problems and a concerted effort to try and put them right.
Thank you.
I think also it highlights some of the matters you mentioned about antisocial behaviour. We've seen through scrutiny over years that, I think the cross-partnership working with 6 police, in-house police officers and stuff, we need to make full advantage of that to alleviate pressure when it can be done. And I think, that's all a new way of working that we all need to investigate as councillors too. I think we're all guilty sometimes as councillors trying to deal with all the issues on our own. Actually, the best thing you can do is, get a loud hailer and ask for help, and it will come. It's just, I think our issue is where do we point the loud hailer at the moment. Thank you. Councillor Whitehouse.
Thanks, Chairman. A couple of points and questions, if I may. I think it is good to see the emphasis on developing skills and so on. I mean, when it gets increasingly difficult to recruit people, and when skills are perhaps scarce anyway, with a sort of tighter employment market and less migration and so forth, we need to be able to sort of grow our own and see people come through the organisation to fill vacancies, rather than just assuming that we can import people in, particularly given the nature of the district in terms of housing and so forth. So, I hope the aspirations in here are sort of backed up with a really sort of robust, action plan and, actions to carry that through. The second thing, and picking up a bit on what Councillor Brooks said, because I've heard similar things, is it's not enough to say the right things. What matters and influences people is how people behave, particularly how managers and senior managers and so forth behave, and the example they set, and how they show. And there's a sort of glancing reference to that sort of thing in here, but that's fundamental. I mean, people can have all the glossy brochures and things in the world, but if people don't live those things and act in that way, it's not actually going to to result in the results we want. The bit that I think is a sort of lacuna in here, and it picks up a bit on what Richard said, and I think it is relevant to people, is what makes the council different as an organisation to lots of other organisations, and I'm not sure it comes out in here, is the fact it is a democratic organisation accountable to residents and there to serve residents. And there is a reference at the start of the PDF about the difference good work makes to the quality of residents' lives, and that's absolutely right. But there is an increasing feeling the council trying to sort of shut its away from residents, and we need to see residents as the people that we're there to serve and work for, not of some inconvenience getting in the way of doing the job. And I think we need to acknowledge the fact that we're a council, and that's what we're there for, and part of that is the democratic role of councillors as well, as Councillor Bassett said. And because people haven't had that contact so much with councillors and perhaps the democratic side of the council, it's quite difficult, I think, sometimes for people who are coming into the organisation without local authority background to understand that difference, unless it's very clearly taken through an induction and again lived in the way the council behaves and the values it endorses. And the final thing I wanted to ask, sorry for going on, was you talk in the report about the passion that you've got to revolutionise local government. I just wanted to expand a bit more on what it is you want to sort of tear down and build in its place.
I don't think it's about tearing it down. I think it's about improving it and making it really people-centric. So people are at the heart of everything that we do, and without the people bit being right, nothing else is right. It has a knock-on effect. So the people strategy is really there to underpin the corporate delivery of the corporate plan. I think it complements, it's an enabler, it's an enabling strategy. It is about supporting people, developing people, sustaining a really good people-centric, value-based culture, and moving that forward at EFD.
And I think something I've just picked up there is you know, do we ever as an organisation, when we need support, pick up the phone to really experienced former employees and just say, you know, would you be interested in helping us on a consultancy basis? I'm thinking specialist areas like housing, planning, finance, obviously recently. Do we have any kind of strategy that looks into that as an option, a potential option?
I think that would come as a natural involvement in the workforce plans, because not every service area would necessarily need that. But yes, we offer benefits like flexible retirement. We have casuals, so we do re-engage with people and bring them on casual contracts. But I think, you know, there's more work that can be done in that, and that will be picked up as part of the workforce planning piece. I
had a conversation on the doorstep with a resident recently, and she said she worked here for 30 odd years and she loved her job so much and she had to retire, but she's itching to help the council in other ways. So it just prompted me to ask that question. Any other members have any questions, further questions? Yeah, Councillor Brooke.
I have a question really, because, you know, this great phrase, we put people at the heart of the organisation. And I think it's absolutely true. Unless people are happy, they aren't going to give their best to the organisation, I feel. But when people are feeling, particularly with the jobs that haven't been filled, because we've saved a lot of money, but sometimes this has meant, you know, it's been really hard on other people. Are they able to feed this back to HR in an anonymous sort of way, that HR then look into the strain that it's been on people to do this and can actually act? Because certainly at the Portrait Gallery occasionally, which was not quite as big as a council, but if you did have an issue, very rarely, and you couldn't sort it out directly, or you felt there was something unjust going on, people could go anonymously to HR and they would take some action. Because it would just be encouraging to me as a member, because I don't like the fact that a lot of people feel overworked here and unhappy. Not everyone, but certainly, you know, I think it's been a very difficult few years, even before the pandemic, for people. So, does this happen?
So we have different mechanisms of employee feedback. We do employee surveys, which are anonymous, and we capture verbatim, and we have action plans that are in reference to that verbatim. So we change direction as we get that feedback in from employees, and we bend and flex, and we offer new initiatives. So to give you an example, we had some feedback around financial wellbeing was a concern. So we've done a lot of work around promoting financial wellbeing, skill pill sessions, a lot around the wellbeing platform that we showcased to you last time. So we do act upon that. So that's one mechanism. Line manager relationships are another one. So, you know, you would expect an employee and a line manager to have a positive open relationship, that they would be able to air those concerns. Obviously HR will always be there, because that's part of what we do, is to be there as a mechanism for people to air any concerns, and there are policies and practices in place as well if they want to do that anonymously. So I think we do cover all angles.
Yeah, Councillor.
Just one final point, if it's all right, but it sort of supplements what my colleague Councillor Whitehouse said about members in the organisation. It is a little different, but actually it's about local councils, because certainly if you look at the local council's liaison, committee meetings. And I know what the feeling is in Loughton Town Council sometimes, how hard it is for them to get some help with some issues. And they feel there's been a change. A few years ago, it was much easier to get some help with things. And now they're struggling to contact anybody. And I think Loughton are not alone in this, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I understand exactly what you're saying, and I think I would encourage all parish councils and town councils they have to feed that back through that particular committee, and I'm always staggered at how little attendance there sometimes is, and I don't know what we can do to improve that, but I think we all have a responsibility as district councillors to go to our communities and say the place to voice that, express that is in that committee, that liaison committee. Any other members? Councillor Kane, and then Councillor Bassett as well. Yeah.
I would like to finish in a positive way. You mentioned that there are a lot of people who left here, retired, whatever. We see it in the count. We see it in the polling stations. There are so many that actually volunteer and to come back, and we see the same people. And when we say, you know, they say that they have so good memories and they would like to offer their services. So to be honest with you, we must do something right as well. Thank you.
I completely agree, and people are so proud to tell you that they've worked at this authority, and it's so evident in occasions like you mentioned, Councillor Kane. Councillor Bassett.
Thank you. It's just a thought here, because someone that worked flexible for 10 years, do we have any guidance for when teams should get together in the office? Should they, like we used to get together one day a week in the office, just so you could build a teamwork, discuss your problem with people that are working in the same area, because you solve the problem then, because I think it works out only 3% of problems are ever new. And I just get concerned when not everyone is suited to flexible working. It's very hard, especially, no disrespect, but if you're at home and you've got a family, you know, you've got pets that walk across into you're in the middle of a call, as I did quite often. But it's actually building that relationship with members of the team. And then when people leave, they're not leaving EFDC, they're leaving their team. And I just worry that flexible working needs to be very carefully looked at, because I know a lot of the big companies in the city are now saying staff should be in the office 2 or 3 days a week, because they said they lost any contact with the company, the ethos of the company, and working together in the team environment makes you work harder. Working as an individual is always hard to be a sole contributor, as I dare say you know from your shops and that. It is very, very hard. It is always nice knowing that there's a team with you that you see regularly that can answer the questions, that can offer you their advice. They might be more experienced than you. And I do worry, and it's something we need to monitor very, very closely, because that could be why they're leaving and going somewhere where they feel more integrated in the team.
Yeah.
It's also one of the biggest attraction methods for any organisation, flexible and hybrid working. But to answer your question, we absolutely encourage collaborative working. We absolutely encourage people to come together for a purpose of collaboration, of teamwork. We absolutely utilise what a fantastic environment that we've got with the conference suites and the meeting rooms and the open desks that we've got here. So I would say we're seeing a lot more people coming together, a lot more teams coming together, but it's team Pacific. So we absolutely encourage that with our hybrid working policies and our framework. But the adoption of that sits with obviously line managers to encourage that team work. But yeah, absolutely we do as an organisation.
And my views on flexible working are well documented in previous meetings. And I welcome any review into flexible working. Any further points on members would like to raise? I will just finish with a final question, which is on page 15, under conclusion, it says that references delivering an exceptional service to our communities. I just wondered if you could elaborate on how we can sort of measure, I think to leave on a positive note, how we can measure that.
How I would like to see it measured, by feedback actually from our communities and from our customers about our employees and how pleasant the interaction is with our employees, because I think that's the best measurement that you would have is the interaction. So if you're getting a really pleasant and positive interaction, then that actually is great, isn't it? That's reaffirming that we're doing things well.
Lovely, well thank you. And members, we have been asked to sort of give some feedbacks for when this goes on to Cabinet. So I think as I can summarise, and if you just all agree with my brief summary, which would be that we welcomed the report as a very good start, and we look forward to seeing how it evolves and its progress. I think that's fair. And how it's reviewed. And we asked, there was lots of questions on its measurability, and Councillor is going to say something else.
And also how it can be linked to engagement with members and doing similar things for getting members to work better together. Because it's getting very hard to recruit good district councillors.
We would welcome the rollout and focus on elected members as well as officers. That's fair? Okay, members. Well, you may have noticed that this is a slightly different agenda because there is no other agenda items. There is no date of next meeting. So I guess this leaves me with the opportunity just to thank once again all members that have participated in the life of the Stronger Council Select Committee, all officers that have attended, all Cabinet members that have. And I would just like to finish on that note. And for the final time, I will close the Stronger Council Select Committee. Oh, and I did just want to mention one other thing. 4 years ago, and I will just use this opportunity, it's the last meeting I'll be chairing before May. 4 years ago, I was elected to this council as the youngest ever councillor elected to this council. And I close my final meeting as chairman of a council scrutiny meeting. And I think it just is testament to the community that we live in, the people that live here, that a young person can grow up in North Weald, go to school in this district and have such a privileged position. And I think that's testament to this council and the members of this council. So I'd just like to finish on that nice note, and I hope it inspires younger people in our community to get involved in our communities, take ownership of our communities. As Councillor Bassett quite rightly says, it's not always attractive advert when we ask for district councillors, and I encourage anybody to have an opportunity to. Councillor Brooks wants to say something.
Thank you for that, Councillor McIver. I'd just like to say thank you for being a very good chair, very fair. And also I would like to say a special thank you to Adrian, who's leaving us very soon and has always taken, having been a councillor now for a good few years, some absolutely excellent minutes. And when I read other councils' agenda, because I have to spend a lot of time in Bassetlaw at the moment, and you realise that our record of meetings is actually a lot better. I know they're going to change soon, unfortunately, but the detail in those is a lot better than many other councils. So thank you, Adrian, and we wish you a very happy retirement.
Well, we look forward to your exit interview. And on that good, joyful note, members, I close the final Stronger Council Select Committee at 7:45. Have a very safe journey home. Thank you all.